Welcome to the implementation overview for the Microsoft Reading Progress MFL. How we help you set the evaluation. The first thing we ask you to do is identify two similar ability classes. You'll then complete the pre-test measure with both classes. Using the What Work Teachers platform, it will then randomly allocate the classes to the intervention and the comparison. The intervention will use reading progress, the comparison will continue as normal. At the end of the trial, both groups complete the same task as the pre-assessment. The system will generate an impact report, which will then allow you to find out, has the intervention worked in your school? If it has, you can then open this up to the control class. So let's look at this from a step-by-step planning approach. Step 1. Identify two similar ability classes to participate in the evaluation from the same year group. So this could be, for example, two middle ability year 8 classes. Step 2. Identify a text that you will use as the pre and post assessment task on reading progress. Please note this task must be challenging for the student to complete. You don't want them to be scoring maximum scores on the pre-test. Step 3. Complete the pre-assessment baseline for both classes. Record the accuracy rate in the Excel tracker located in the resource folder and then input this into the pre-test on the trial wizard. As you're using class level data, we advise that one teacher reads out the scores and the other teacher inputs these into the platform. And only one teacher needs to create an account to run the trial. The next thing you do is use the What Work Teachers platform to randomly assign the classes to the intervention and comparator group. Make sure you record on your Excel tracker which is the intervention class and which is the comparator one. Step 5. For the intervention class, assign weekly reading tasks using reading progress and monitor usage. The control class will continue with business as usual for the duration of the trial. Step 6. Complete the post-assessment, which is the same as the pre, to both the intervention and comparison group. Record the marks in the Excel tracker located in the resource folder and then input these into the post-test on the trial wizard. You'll then complete a short process evaluation, then click Analyze to generate an impact report. You will find in the resource folder a tracking spreadsheet which allows you to link an anonymized student ID to a student on the platform in your class. This means that we don't collect any personal information from learners on our platform, and it allows you to track who is the anonymized ID referenced to. What I'm going to do now is share a quick interview that I did with Tom Harmon, who was head of French at the Royal Grammar School in Newcastle, who ran the initial pilots of the Microsoft Reading Progress.
Hi, Tom. Thank you. Yeah, so thank you so much for running the pilot evaluation in your school. And I've just got 3 questions that I'm going to ask to go through on this video. But if you could just make a quick introduction, that would be fantastic.
Yep, no problem. So my name is Tom Harmon. I am the head of French at the Royal Grammar School in Newcastle. Alongside French, I also teach Spanish.
Fantastic. So the first question I've got is, why did you decide to test reading progress?
So when I first came across Reading Progress, I thought it would be an excellent way to try and bring more speaking activities to students, especially away from the classroom. We'd come out of the pandemic and a lot of classroom time had been lost where students hadn't had that opportunity to speak the language out loud. And I thought it was a great way to visualize a student's development and progress whilst speaking.
Fantastic. And then the second question is it possible just to briefly explain how you set the trial up within your 2 classes, if that's okay?
Yep, sure. So I had 2 classes in year 8 for Spanish, both mixed ability, similar number of students. The plan was that we had a text at the beginning of a unit of work, which both classes completed as a homework. And then for the duration of the unit, which ended up being around 8 weeks, the test group completed 1 homework per week, doing a reading progress task. And at the end, both groups did the same task they did at the start of the test, to see what the level of progress had been across the two groups, to see how reading progress could augment or serve as a learning accelerator for students.
Fantastic, and it was great that the results came back, and it showed that it had a positive impact on the students. But the last question is, do you have any advice for any other teachers who will be replicating, hopefully, the evaluation? So, is there any lessons learned that you had when you piloted this within your school?
Absolutely. I think it's really important straight away to decide what you're going to deem to be a mispronunciation and perhaps what's going to be deemed an omission and insertion. For me, I went, for example, with the word me and may. If they were mispronounced, it was actually an omission and they included the incorrect word. I think it's really useful to make good use of the insights feature to see trends across the class and then look to design a text that includes some of those areas that the class is really struggling with, so you can see maximum impact over the course of the trial. Finally, I would always, as with anything with IT, I would always check it yourself once the student has completed the work, to give yourself knowledge of what's going on and just to see if there's any kinks that still need ironing out, as they are working monthly to try and improve it, but there's always still one or two things to be checking on.
Fantastic, and that's it. So thank you very much for your time in taking part in the pilot in your school.
No worries.
So we're moving on to some key considerations. So logistical issues need to be considered before using reading progress with your class. The first one is time. How much will you expect the learners to use reading progress for? Intensity, will it be set once or twice a week? Location, if this is set as a homework task or a specific time in the lesson. Access, if it is set for homework, can all students access reading progress? Reminders, can you monitor the completion and just remind learners who have not completed the homework task? And then resources, just make sure that if you're doing this in school that the IT resources are available. So logistical barriers are common in any intervention delivered in schools, so it's just important to consider these prior to starting. The assessment. The outcome measure is attainment as defined by the accuracy rate on the assessment reading task in reading progress. For the assessment task, please select a challenging text for your students to complete. As both the control and intervention groups receive the same assessment, familiarity with this should not bias the effect. Complete the assessment as either as homework or in school time. Ensure that the assessment reading task is challenging. Make sure you record the pre and post assessment scores on your tracking spreadsheet, and then make sure this is added to the What Work Teachers platform at the relevant stage. So that is the end of your implementation guidance. The next thing to do is to download your research protocol, the resource folder, and then start your trial wizard.